The Art of Being Ruled. Wyndham Lewis. Original publication 1926. 1989 edition. Narrated by Skeptical Waves. Part 11. Proudhon and Rousseau. Chapter 5. The Sociable and the Unsociable Man. The radical contrast between Rousseau and Proudhon was, as I have said, between an unsociable man and a sociable one. And the theories of both of them were antagonistic necessarily, as were the minds of those responsible for them. And to say that a man is unsociable would seem, at first sight, to convict him, and consequently his doctrine, of misanthropy. But that is not such a safe conclusion, I think, as it looks. It is in Rousseau's case particularly unsound. A few remarks about the progress of Proudhon's revolutionary thought at this point are required. All the best French revolutionary thought is nearer to Proudhon than to anybody else. It is antagonistic by nature to Marx, and it has not the nihilistic and metaphysical character of the Russian. Syndicalism, which as a doctrine has probably failed, along with its pet conception of the general strike and the gymnastic of mass movement, is still the most well-marked and powerful endeavor of a constructive sort that the French revolutionary mind has made since Proudhon. And it owes its origin integrally to the teaching of Proudhon. Proudhon is one of the two great socialists of the last century, Marx being the other. And it could be said that he stands, philosophically, for the small man, the hero of Part 2 of the present essay, whereas Marx stands for the great urban state machine, and is against the small man. But syndicalism has, as well as its central federative notion of which the bourses du travail are the constructive expression, several of the ideas of Marx, with which Proudhon would certainly not have agreed. This cannot be better illustrated than in the following passage from George Sorel's introduction to the Bourses du Travail. In it you get the complete Marxian attitude towards capitalism, regarded by him as a sort of spirit which wills the evil and does the good, or, better perhaps, which wills nothing at all, but into which the will of the proletariat can be put. Capitalism creates the heritage which socialism will receive. Capitalism begets new ways of working. After having solved the great problem of the organization of labor, to effect which utopians have brought forward so many naive or stupid hypotheses, capitalism provokes the birth of the cause which will overthrow it, and thus renders useless everything that utopians have written to induce enlightened people to make reforms, and it gradually ruins the traditional order. It might therefore be said that capitalism plays a part analogous to that attributed by Hartmann to the unconscious in nature without any ideal of a future world. It is the cause of an inevitable revolution. It performs in an almost mechanical manner all that is necessary, in order that a new order may appear, and that this new era may break every link with the idealism of the present times, while preserving the acquisitions of the capitalistic economic system. Socialists' sole function is that of explaining to the proletariat the greatness of the revolutionary part they are called upon to play. In 1851 Proudhon described himself as a theorist of anarchy. In 1862 he became what he described as a federalist. That is to say, he abandoned his position of intransigence with regard to authority. Anarchy is the affirmation of liberty and the negation of authority, he would tell us, whereas federation was the balancing of the two. In his book Du Principe Federatif, Proudhon affirms that a government of absolute liberty, and likewise a government of absolute authority, are both dreams, both a priori and over-theoretical. And so he arrives at his compromise of federation. What might Proudhon not have reached had he had another century or so of life, as Mr. Shaw imagines people having? His idea for the working of federalism in France was that the country should be cut up into 36 small sovereign states of 1 million inhabitants each, and of 6,000 square kilometers. He was still ardently against any form of centralization. It was indeed really in order to avoid the danger of centralization that he was inspired to create his federalist theory. That is still his greatest bugbear. Had he lived to be 1,000 he would probably only have gone on inventing escapes for humanity from this monstrous political dragon, this withering abstraction. Political centralization has for principal corollary commercial anarchy, that is to say, the negation of all economic right, of all social guarantee. The bitterest opponent of state socialism could not state the case against it more forcibly than Proudhon.